Hey everyone, this is Andrew Hall. You can call me Dr. Kennard. With me is Tobin Templeman. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm hanging in there. I went out there and I voted yesterday.
Oh,
I sure
excellent.
did. I
Good for
got it.
you.
Hmm.
So there is was that there was some kind of a ballot initiative about religious services being held open during major pandemics
Yes.
that was on. Um, I have no idea. I'm looking it up right now. Did that pass? Do you know?
I'm not sure of the results.
Oh, they did. It passed, dude. So now everyone. I hate want. Okay, so yes, I just saw America's approved all 8 amendments to the Texas Constitution, and this is from the Austin American Statesman. Um, you know, I hate trying to get free news, Tobin, and everyone trying to get free news on the fly. Everyone wants you to sign up for their shitty email lists,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Will you accept and take our cookies or whatever?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want. I have enough cookies. Thank you. I do not
Yeah.
need any more cookies. I'm uninterested in cookies. Yeah, but um, yeah, from what I understand, everything passed. Everything that was on the ballot passed. So that means that if you are part of some kind of weird group that eats their god on Sundays, then even if there's a major pandemic going on, you will still be able to attend services in person. I
That
don't
is
know.
crazy.
How is that not insane? I don't know, man. That sounds pretty crazy to me.
And the other things on there were kind of benign, and that was the one thing that that was important to me. But man, damn it, that is not a good sign that the Texans are aware of these things going on. What's up,
Yeah.
John?
What's up,
Good
John
morning.
Hudson?
How are you guys?
Doing okay. How about you, sir?
Yeah, kind of a little bit sleepy, a little bit.
Are you working while you're doing childcare at the same time? Are you doing like 50 different things at once, John Hudson? Is that what you're supposed to be
Uh,
doing?
uh, I'm loving this grandbaby, man. She's so cute,
Yeah.
and the grandson is always, on top of my list.
Good.
Feels like what I was meant to do my whole life.
It is, that's very positive. That's what that is. That is very positive. I heard that your kid's going to be, or your grandson is going to be eligible for the vaccine, right?
The daughter made an appointment yesterday for him to get it.
Pretty cool.
Very.
Yeah, dude. Um, ah, yeah. So the day after the election, and things are just a little bit crazier than they were like 2 days ago.
Uh, all my years, it just seems like it comes in cycles. It's a fucking roller coaster. Hang on, enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Well,
There will be some screaming. There might be some vomiting and occasional shit in your pants, but
right.
a roller coaster nonetheless. It's kind of cool here this morning, actually.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Yeah.
We had some weather pop down from the north and started raining a couple hours ago, and
Well, you
it's
probably need the rain. I'm just assuming that everyone pretty much needs rain or some kind of precipitation at this point.
we've had quite a bit of rain this year, but it's always welcome.
Well, D Parks, I am doing my best not to be poor. Marginally successful with that. Marginally, kind of iffy, depending on your operational definition of poor. But yeah, what's up, Simply Secular Dave, Wild Eden, and Imaginary God?
I agree with D.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah.
I was confused by that last little clip. At first, I thought the kitten was on a leash,
All
but
right.
like
Yeah.
I couldn't really see what was going on. It happened pretty.
There was a potato masher and the cat had somehow had gotten into the potato masher, and so its body was stuck. Its core was stuck. You have the handle, and then it goes flares out into the masher. Somehow the cat had gotten in the middle of that masher. I can only think that the cat just tried to squirrel through it, just because that's what cats do. And
right.
Yeah.
They had plenty of room to walk around it and even jump over it. But
who do you think is the best president in my lifetime? I would say Obama.
Kennedy in my lifetime.
Right. So we have different lifetimes.
John Lennon was the best president of America ever.
so I would vote for Obama simply on the basis of not tearing the country apart, right? Not destroy. I mean, remember when Obama got voted in, it was the Great Recession. And so even though he did continue a lot of policies from the younger Bush, right? It still says something about not fucking it up.
He inherited a steaming bag of shit.
Yeah.
The country was on fire,
yeah. So I would, yeah. And also he did pass the ACA. He got Congress to pass the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare. And even though, of course, it wasn't everything everyone wanted, it wasn't single payer health care, it was a lot better than what we had before.
It was something for people anyways.
Yeah. So Phil Lister says Eisenhower. Yeah, that's way before my time. You could say, you can. I do know that Eisenhower. Well, back then you could get shit done. We had a functioning legislative branch, so they could vote on things like the national highway system. Because let's remember that before the 1950s, America was basically dirt. I don't want to make this sound too crazy, but we had dirt roads, or what we considered to be like Route 1 was the main road that went from Maine down to Florida here on the East Coast. Route freaking 1. And if we didn't have the national highway system, which was an Eisenhower era program, we wouldn't have Route 95. We wouldn't have Route 66. We wouldn't have all those routes that we have today.
66 is pretty much non-existent anymore. It detours. I tried doing it, and there's a lot of detour off the road now.
Yeah,
it's very cool to see all the old architecture and such, and just a lot of the history along that route is pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree with Phil Lister that so Roosevelt was in your lifetime, but you don't remember him. Yeah, I think when you talk about the presidents, if you're going to make a list of the presidents who got the most shit done, who transformed society, the basics would be there, right? Like at the top of the list, it would be Roosevelt. One of the reasons why Republicans hate him so fucking much, it would be Roosevelt, and it would be like Lincoln, of course, and Washington would probably be the top three for a lot of historians. Tobin, who do you think best president within your lifetime?
I think I would just have to agree with Obama. I really haven't studied the presidents that much. My political knowledge it's small. Like that's one reason why I enjoyed this show, is because the subject matter that gets talked about. I'm more of a student.
Right. I understand. Sure. Have we had a good president in our lifetime? If I'll be honest, before my current girlfriend, before my girlfriend, who I'm involved with, right, have been involved happily with the last 3 years, I would make a joke, and a dark joke. It'd be something like, girlfriends are a lot like presidents. It isn't about which one's good. It's about the one that does the least amount of damage, right? So But seriously, I think Obama would be. I I think he'd be considered good by many standards.
Let me make it a harder question. Which was the worst president?
John Hudson, you know this is a topic I like talking about.
Fucking Ronnie Reagan. You know,
Oh, okay.
he went around zapping things with his ray gun and fucked shit up, deregulated everything.
Uh, you know, the Reagan tax cuts did set the stage for a lot of evil and just evil shit.
Well, deregulating all the different industries and such, I think, caused as much damage as anything.
Yeah, yeah. Deregulating, you know, because when you have all those tax cuts, the tax with all that money flooding the system, that's how we got rock star CEOs. That's how we got CEOs getting paid 1,000 times more than the average employee.
Right.
Because up until that point, there was no incentive for companies to pay their CEOs that much money. Yeah, the money that flooded into the political system over the years after that, the fact that people could buy politicians. Yeah, yeah.
What do you think was the worst Supreme Court decision made in your lifetime?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's a tough one too. I would say Citizens United would probably be ranking up there off the top of my head. Yeah,
that's the one that made corporations and an individual.
Yeah, money is freedom. Yeah, it's speech. Yeah, that's just off the top of my head. I remember watching Scalia when he was alive. Of course, he was giving an interview. That man was a fucking sociopath. He was like, you know, basically.
I'm laughing in disbelief that it's so believable.
He was making an argument that the Constitution did not prevent citizens from wasn't protecting citizens from the police, wasn't protecting citizens from having unusual pain afflicted on them by the authorities. He was like, yeah, you know, that Fourth Amendment, I think it's the Fourth Amendment, that protects us from cruel and unusual punishment. That doesn't really work. That's not real. That's not a real thing. So yeah, Scalia. Yeah, I danced a little dance when he died.
Yeah, fuck you, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I will say that once again, Bush the younger W there. I mean, he just racked up in terms of shit points. If you're going to start calculating shit points for presidents, that man just like crushed it. I mean,
yeah, I heard a lot of shit talk about that dude.
Yeah.
Growing up, a bunch of it, like how they made fun of him about story time. He was like out of kindergarten or something like that.
Yeah, he did so many structural things. I mean, let's not forget, he's the torture guy. You know, it's easy to forget with all the other crap that Bush the younger did. He was still the dude who's like, let's torture fucks. Let's just torture them, right? Yeah. So it's actually the Eighth Amendment that protects us against cruel and unusual punishment. I just had to look that up because I felt stupid for not knowing that. So it's the Eighth Amendment. But yeah, you know, I mean, Bush was the torture guy. Remember Christopher Hitchens? If you haven't seen this video on YouTube, please do. Christopher Hitchens, when he was alive, you know, he wanted to see if waterboarding was actual torture. So he got waterboarded. And he's like, fuck yeah. Paraphrasing, of course. Fuck yeah, that's torture. You can't say that's not torture. Of course that's torture. So not only did Bush lose two wars, set us up to lose two eternal wars or two very long wars and tank the economy, but he also gave us fucking torture too at the same time. What a fuck.
Well, when you look at the Bible as a good book and what it teaches and such, what is real torture?
Yeah. Well, then you start getting into, Bill Clinton's. What is the definition of is, right? What does that word mean? You start talking. You're just getting into these semantics. But torture, yeah. Waterboarding, torture. Stress positions for hours, torture. Those, blaring music into your cells so you can't get any sleep, torture. Solitary confinement, torture.
The price of prescription drugs.
Oh wow, yeah, man. Yeah, that's
I think he was like the only president, like on his inauguration on the drive, that they had to like roll up the windows and go fast because everybody was throwing tomatoes and stuff at him. If I remember correctly, I think I remember seeing that.
that might have been him. Yeah, and let's not forget is that he also stole an election from Gore. I just saw Gore on the news.
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about the climate crisis. It's like when you think about what would the country be like if it wasn't for Bush the younger becoming president, we would have had President Gore. He would have been able to deal with 9/11 properly. He would have been able to curtail the most toxic aspects of capitalism, and we probably wouldn't have had the Great Recession.
His 11th Hour, I think that was the name of the film that Gore did. Or no.
No, I know I saw it in the theater when it came out.
But that made an impact on my life. That was the film that made me start thinking about where I was sitting at in the world, like literally where am I, like, and
Yep.
I don't know. There was other things that film made me think about. That made me aware. The inconvenient truth. That's it. Yeah.
Inconvenient truth. Yeah. Well, as I recall, Carl Sagan was talking about fucking global climate change. When I was watching Cosmos, he was talking about the planet Venus as having an out of control, greenhouse effect, basically. I mean, of course, it was a naturally occurring event on Venus because Venus, has like, I don't know what the temperature is, surface temperature of Venus, but I think it's like 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It melts metal. But yeah, Carl Sagan was talking about, hey, we could easily do man-made climate change here on Earth if we keep pumping out greenhouse gases. So people have known about this. People have known about this for decades.
Well, the Earth has always puked out greenhouse gases. We've just compounded the situation.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good point, John Hudson, because there was a whole there have been extinction events because of the fact that certain areas just burp up. Right, I believe there's been extinction events at least. We've had like 6 or 7 of them, and right now in Siberia, with the permafrost melting, you have methane gas being burped up. And methane gas is like much worse than CO2. It's much worse than carbon dioxide. So
it's crazy. Oh, like Centralia, I think it's a place in Pennsylvania. I think these names are right, but like. They're one of those places that have those like holes in the earth where they mined for coal and then they accidentally started burning it.
You're right. The underground.
Yeah.
They're all over. There's fires burning underneath the mountains in Utah from that. West Virginia. It's really quite a common occurrence for coal mines to catch on fire and burn. They don't extinguish.
Phil Lister points out, making his assertion that Kennedy was a pretty shitty president. The Bay of Pigs, there's no doubt that the Bay of Pigs was definitely was a fiasco. It's like, how do you not know what the water level is in the bay? Basically, from what I understand about the Bay of Pigs invasion, is that the boats came in, they ran aground before they got on the landing beach, and things went sideways quickly after that. It was a half-baked idea cooked up by the CIA.
Which would have been Daddy Bush at that time, I believe.
It was definitely Kennedy who did the Bay of Pigs. But
that was heading to CIA at the time.
Oh yeah, well that's probably true. That is probably true. Wild Eden says there were approximately 40 volcanic eruptions last year, and this year there's been about 20 or so. The erupting volcanoes produce thousands of gas, tons of. Look at La Palma. Yeah. Right. So it's important to point out that not only are we fucking with the Earth, but the Earth has its own cycles too, in which greenhouse gases get emitted into the atmosphere. In splurges, maybe that's not a good word. What's up, Sammy?
Sammy.
Well, it's like Salt Lake City, for instance. Yeah, I spent most of my life in Utah. You got mountains on both sides. The contamination stay in the valley. The air turns very thick. It's nasty. And it's an old lake bed. And they build on it, and the ground shakes, and and then we frack the earth. I mean, we're just fucking Mother Nature all to hell. We frack this earth. We pump water in to fucking spew out the gas. It's crazy.
True that. Cryptomaria points out if Gore got elected, there would be no ISIS. And you're right about that. You know what pisses me off, actually, is that right around every presidential election time, there is this conversation going on about, or a couple of articles being written about how the president of the United States doesn't have that much power. And it's like, I don't think you understand how things work in terms of if you're going to do a sliding scale in terms of which president and which branch of government has the most power, it is clearly the executive branch. It is just clearly that.
Well, especially since they've realized executive order.
Oh yeah. Well, what does that mean? That means I can do whatever the fuck I can do by fiat, basically, what I want. Right. Yeah. Of course, the problem is that when you have a president every 8 years or so, is that those executive orders, as we saw with Trump, they can just get washed away, right?
Well, it's
nothing with long lasting.
Like the Bears ear and stuff that Trump opened up. I mean, it's Biden closed it back down. You know.
Yep.
So the merry-go-round goes up and down.
Yep. Well, it's and I'll I will definitely agree that if you're going to plot out the shit fuckery of American politics on a graph, it does seem chaotic, right? But there is a trend line. I think there is a trend line in the fact that within our lifetime, once again, that we've seen a steady increase in political rights, right? I think it was either the year I was born or the year just before I was born. And John, you're alive for this, that in many states, interracial marriage was illegal. Like you couldn't get, if you couldn't marry someone from a different race in like Virginia, for example. That's where the landmark case was done. And that seems like ancient history now, but no, that's within the lifetime of people like still here, right? Of interracial marriage being illegal. So on one hand, I am somewhat hopeful, but on the other hand, fascists want a fascist, and they're very motivated because that's how many times can I say fascism in like one fucking paragraph? Fascists are really motivated for doing fascism. Christian Mario said, I cried so hard the night W said he was going into Iraq. Yeah. Yeah, Christian Mario.
Well, that going into Iraq was just to try to make up for his daddy's fuck up there earlier.
Yes.
That's all it was.
I totally agree that there was a large psychological drive somewhere in W's drug-addled brain that, yes, going into Iraq would make him feel better inside, right? I still think a lot of it has to do about Iraq. I was thinking that there are a lot of military guys probably thinking, look, we have guys already in Afghanistan. We have bases all around Iraq, around Iran. So why not fucking take over Iraq, and then we can, things go
There was
well.
a bunch of fires that were burning from those oil rigs. I remember that happening during that time. There was just, it was at an astonishing rate, like straight out of the earth, huge flames.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that that is a strategy, unfortunately, that a lot of countries use when they're being invaded. When it always goes back to Nazis with me, right? When the Germans invaded parts of the Soviet Union, Stalin basically told the guys in charge in the oil fields, it's like either you destroy the oil fields or they're still going to get destroyed and you're going to go to the gulag, or something really bad is going to happen to you. They're like, okay, boss, we're just going to blow them up. We're just going to set fire to the oil wells. So that is an intentional strategy. If you're being invaded, then you want to prevent the occupier from using that resource.
Right.
So, yeah.
If I can't have it, neither can you.
Yeah, exactly. So Cleo Smith has been found 4 years old. Big Zebra Point made this, and I just Googled the name. Missing 4-year-old found alive in Australia. Wow.
I have no idea who that is.
She vanished from a Australian campsite and found alive in a locked house. Wow. That was crazy. There was a $1 million award. I'd have to tell you, and John, for those of us who are parents, I don't know about you guys, but when my kids were really small, always eyes on them. At least when we're out, when they're, a lot of the times I had my eyes on my kids. They could do stuff. I let them, do stuff, but in terms of, I would always feel the need to keep an eye on my kids if they're, especially, we've only gone camping a handful of times, but they were in an environment like that. I'd be like keeping you in sight. You're not just going to be wandering around.
Oh,
Hell
yeah.
no.
When Phoenix was a baby, I carried her in one of them pouches with me everywhere until she could walk, and then I fucking hooked a leash to her belt, to my belt, when we was anywhere. I've always been overprotective that way.
Sure.
And I got her into Taekwondo early.
Good for you.
By the time she was 12, she was second-degree black belt in it.
Yeah.
And could whoop a grown man's ass in a second.
Firm advocate of having kids go through some kind of martial arts. Both of my kids, they didn't get up to black belt because, obviously I'm not athletic. I have no natural gifts in terms of athleticism, and neither do my kids. But both of them could know how to fight. It wasn't a mixed martial arts form. Well, it was a form, but it wasn't like a gym. It was more of a traditional karate style that had elements of jiu-jitsu and wrestling and boxing added onto it.
A lot of getting used to something is just getting used to it, or getting familiar with it. But sure. Fighting, you got to be able to know it. You got to. Because
I was the smallest brother.
Oh, John.
And so I got to a point where I could kick either my brother's asses, and they were a lot bigger than me.
Yeah.
I just found out young that you can take a man out at the knees really fucking fast. And then it's all, once they're there, it's all equal.
Yeah. Cryptomeria says, abductions for women and children are on the rise. I'm a tough lady, but I'm always way more on point. Yeah, it's sad. It is sad, Cryptomeria. And it's, my daughter. Hey, what's up, Paul Cambish? My daughter is a small and lithe person. She might weigh 100 pounds, maybe. And you know, she has a good head on her shoulders, and she does know how to fight. But she's definitely not a brawler like my son. Never minded getting punched in the face, which was surprising, right? Who would have thought that? But
I
yeah,
can appreciate that one.
that was his strategy: go in, get punched in the face, and hit harder back. You know.
I tell you what, when somebody punches you and you don't go fucking down,
Yeah.
You see fear in their eyes.
Sure. Yeah.
You see fucking nothing but fear in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Paul Camish, I hope you're doing okay this morning. With all the craziness here in the States, I haven't been keeping. Oh, well, besides, of course, the climate change meeting going on over in Glasgow. But besides that, I've been being a typical narcissistic American and just paying attention to American politics.
What's up, Paul?
I made cookies this morning.
God damn you, sir! You didn't bring any. You didn't bring it for everybody.
There's enough for everybody.
Oh yeah, there is. Sure.
Macadamia nut, white chocolate.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, Phil. It seems sad to me that children in other countries are massively overprotected and don't know how to play. Yeah. You know, and the thing is that I haven't, you know, I haven't seen the numbers. I haven't seen any studies that show whether or not. I mean, things are definitely different now than they were when I was a kid. You know, back, and I'm sure that they're very different for everyone, for you guys too. Is that you would just be let out of the house, and then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got let out of the house at about 2 years old. I think I came back at 16.
Nice.
I needed to change my underwear.
I think at times we're even just kicked out of the house. Like,
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kicked out because I wasn't interested in anything outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't nothing to do in the house when I was a kid.
Well,
Yeah, there was probably, I'm going to say 30 kids within 2-3 years of my age on my street. And it was like Lord of the Flies.
And that's why I didn't want to leave the fucking house, John Hudson. It was Lord of the fucking Flies. Why would I want to go outside if it was not? And this is a true story. I'm not fucking kidding you. There was a guy down the street, and I've talked to you about this guy before. What was his name? His nickname was the Candy Man. And kids would just go over to his house, right, hang out in the driveway, and he would just give out candy to them. And this was normal in 1975, 1976.
Yeah, well, we had them people in the neighborhood that they were actually good guys. I had the bus stop in front of my house, the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was growing the marijuana, the neighbors actually lobbied because the one lady freaked out and said, "Well, the kids go in front of this drug dealer's house every day," and all the other moms in the neighborhood said, "Mr. Hudson is nothing but the sweetest man, you know."
Right.
Because I'd go out there, "You guys going to be good to your teacher today?" You know, and such. And yeah, I'd throw candy and stuff at them. Right. And every morning I'd get out there, I'd put 4 quarters on the bus stop on the bench. Mm-hmm. So the kids would get there early just to, you know, and they were always in line.
Well, I got to tell you, brother, this guy was not you. I went over to this guy's place once just to check out what the candy scene was like. And I'm like, 1, I don't like the candy. What's up, 420? I don't like the candy handing out. And 2, you kind of creeping me out.
Well, I do like the full-size things, like the full packs of Skittles and shit. I mean, there was probably a dozen of them that were out there every morning.
Right.
And, you know, it was cool.
That's good. We had a couple of people like that in my neighborhood as well. And one of those guys that would sit out in the lawn chair in the driveway, he gave me a kitten. This dude had so many cats, and I came home with a kitten. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I guess it helped too that I had a child that was in school too. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. This guy did
So
not have a kid, a child in school. Yeah.
yeah.
How you
So
doing,
I
420?
mean, after school they'd always come over, and I had the trampoline,
Oh,
swimming pool. We had a out off my garage. I had a billiard hall. Had some pinball machines and stuff. Kids loved to hang out. As a teenager, I always knew where my daughter was.
yeah. Well, Randolph Richards said, at my home we get 300 to 500 kids each Halloween.
Wow.
Well, that's a lot of kids, dude. You didn't want to spread COVID-19. That's wise. But 300 to 500. When I was growing up, my parents would have about 100 kids pop over and ask for candy. But 300 to 500, I don't even know. I don't even know. Do you hire somebody to pass out candy?
Uh,
Right?
I
Holy.
used to buy like 5, 6 big bags where I lived. I
Yeah.
had trick or treaters all night. Where I'm at now, we didn't get one,
Hmm.
but they'd have to walk a mile to hit the 5 houses in between.
Sure. Cryptomaria says, I wish kids weren't online. I will say this about my kids and about being maybe on the spectrum a little bit is that they have little to no interest outside. Like they're focused on shit. Don't get me wrong. Like my boy is big into gaming, but he's not big into interacting with other people whatsoever online, and neither is my daughter. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Maybe it's because they know that I'm online so much. Maybe I scared them straight.
My kids actually have like a group of people that they have hung out with for like since we moved out here, and then we got the internet set up. Um, like there's a kid named Dylan, and my son's girlfriend that he's spent like a couple of years talking to. This girl lives in Canada.
She lives
Yeah,
in Canada, huh?
yeah. Uh, but it's a trip. It's just really wild. We've been in other neighborhoods where there was lots of kids, and the moving out here was quite different. And I was pretty happy that they when we were got the internet set up here, that they had people that they could hang out with basically and talk. They do play games with and watch movies, although they can't really hang out in the same room with the person.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean I mean, once online became a thing, then I definitely enjoyed, hanging out with people that there was let me back up a little bit. There was this interesting Hidden Brain podcast episode that and on the latest episode, they were talking about how people typically make friendships with people at work based on how close they are to them, right? And so if you're sitting next to a person one cubicle over, then you're more than likely going to form a friendship with that person more than a person who sits 5 desks away from you, for an example. And so, and this is somewhat trite, and I know that I'm not the first person to say this, but the internet is nice that you actually meet people that you like.
Well, same with the internet. I really feel like you guys are all my friends.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I feel the same way, dude. I feel the same way.
As much as anybody I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like-minded people. I mean, birds of feather flock together. We're all different. We're
Oh,
all
yeah.
very different, but uh,
Randolph Richardson totally owning this whole Halloween thing. Animatronic sound systems in the bushes, video screens go. You know, um, the girlfriend and I developed a strategy because we live far back from the road. Is that we're gonna sit on our because we're in a 3 unit condo, so we're gonna sit on the front steps next year and just drink and hand out candy. And I think that's our plan. Just include drinking into our Halloween festivities.
There was this when my kids were little and we were doing trick or treating. There was one house we could not get our kids to walk up to willingly. Like we like drugged them up because the house looked cool, but they were totally spooked out by the sounds and the way the person set up the lighting.
Yeah.
And there was a mannequin that the person had dressed up as like a witch or something. But they did not want to walk up to it, and we finally got the dude. Uh, we finally got them to walk up, and the dude was dressed all scary and like kind of popped out at them, and they didn't even react to it. It was so weird. I was like, y'all are freaking out about the lights and the sounds, but like this dude just jumped out to scare y'all, and y'all are like, I don't know. It was just funny.
You know, I was driving in Boston yesterday, and this is another good reason why I don't have a gun, is that I saw a guy just walking down the street. He was crossing the street, busy street in Boston, and he had a mask on, like not just a regular mask, but like a Mike Myers kind of mask. And I'm like, you know, I don't know if it's PTSD. I don't know if it's the fact that I've been doing like Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of role playing stuff for a long time. It's like my first instinct would be to shoot you, sir. I see you coming down at me, even in broad daylight. And you know, and so another good reason why Andy Hall does not have a gun. A little too trigger happy. That's what I would be. How you doing, Dr. Tom Foolery? How are things with you?
I've recently awoken, so
Right.
there's that.
Were you busy on election night?
I was trying to set up a server last night, so I ended up staying up a little bit late.
No, right, right. I heard that the ballot initiative to make the police less shitty in Minneapolis didn't pass.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, striking out on our agendas.
yeah. Well, you know, it is important to keep pushing, of course, right? Um, yeah, yeah. And the Republicans are really good about using critical race theory, race baiting, to scare people into voting. It's similar to what you see on YouTube about people using dog whistles or picking up on topics just so that they can get subscribers. So Phil says that they are. You seem quiet, more quiet than usual this morning. 420.
Yeah, what's up, Sammy?
Maybe.
I just woke up myself.
No, and of course, waking up for you, it's more like it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I've seemed to have gotten myself into a groove as well. I'm getting more sleep than usual.
Oh, hey.
But it's in two parts.
Yeah. Yeah. I was up at 3 o'clock this morning. I went to the bathroom and I basically said, fuck this shit. I'm going back to sleep. And because there was a choice. It's either I can just power through the rest of the day or I can see if I can go back to sleep. And I think I was successful. I was able to sleep until 6. So no part of me is thinking you're giving up your superpower. I'm giving up my superpower of being up at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting shit done.
Yeah, sometimes it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
I just looked it up in the ballot question, and St. Paul passed with 52.89% of the vote.
Say that again. I didn't get all that.
The ballot question in St. Paul passed with 52.89% of the vote.
Was that the police bill? Was that the
No.
police bill?
In St. Paul, the ballot question was rent stabilization.
Oh, that's good. Well,
Rent stabilization?
It's rent control for all intents and purposes.
Oh, rent. Oh.
Yeah. Preventing landlords from increasing people's rent by more than I think it was like 3% per year or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
prevents price gouging, right?
So how my rent is literally jumping by $50 a week.
$50 a week.
Yeah,
Well, that seems like a lot of money.
Yeah.
it's a huge jump. Admittedly, our landlord hasn't raised our rent the whole time. We've had the
Oh,
place
Jen,
for
like
6 years.
Mm.
Um, but to then just jump from, $50
Mm,
when they've not really done anything to the property.
sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
So why is it costing more all of a sudden? Like, maybe put some air conditioners or
Yes.
fuck, some insulation would be nice. There's
Insulation.
no insulation in this house, and when you open up the manhole, because we just have the ceramic tiles. Nowadays, there's a legal standard that you have to have this waterproofing down before the tiles.
Right.
But originally, they literally just laid these tiles straight onto the wooden A-frame.
That's horrible.
And so when you look up, you can see the sunlight like through the tiles. They're laid in a way that the water doesn't get in, but it's open to the elements. So you literally just have your tiles separating the internals of your house from
Yeah.
the Australian summer.
damn,
And
buddy.
then, yeah, so
How old is
we're
the house?
just pumping 21 or 22 years.
That's not that old.
That's not an old house.
No.
Mm.
But that was the end of our dodgy building.
That was just at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before, it's now you can't build a house without insulation
Sure.
and all these different considerations
Mm.
that the house we live in just missed out on.
Wow, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, sounds like you should move, buy your own
Move.
place.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It's like it's like when I was heavier. It's like, well, I just need to lose weight. It's like one of those situations. Well, the answer is pretty clear. The only thing you need is a big bucket of money.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping to wake up one day and it's happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's up, God, the good one? I will say that if you do have the opportunity to actually save money and invest money, then there may be times that you look at it after you forget about it. Because my whole thing for me personally is whatever money I've had, which has never been a lot of money whatsoever, has been just to put it somewhere and then forget about it as much as humanly possible. And because when I forget about it, I can't spend it.
Mm.
And maybe the ADD helps, maybe it does, but yeah, that's been my entire financial strategy, right? About just put it
It's a
somewhere.
good habit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people that become millionaires and stuff like that. From different artists, sports ball players, and stuff like that. They have all this freaking money, and then before they're even 50, they've already spent it all, and it's because they thought that they were going to keep on making that money. They thought that they could keep on making it. They're going to always be making that kind of money, but there comes a time where the spigot gets turned off, and they're like, no more.
Well, I think the average, even when you look at the average NFL player, how long they play in the NFL, it's only like a handful of years, if that. So if you're just a guy out of college going into the NFL, and you're only there for 2 years or 3 years, and you piss away all that cash, guess what? You're just another fucking guy after you're out. You're just another dude trying to get a job.
We had a bit of got to be careful of choice of words in this day and age. I don't want to say epidemic, but
Yeah.
our Australian football, so rugby league
Yep.
players,
Mhm.
the scouts that go to the youth games, like young kids games, and scout them
Yep.
for the A grade teams and whatnot. So they're signing them up at 16, 17. They're getting paid $500,000 or $1 million a year to play football.
Mm.
At 16 and 17.
Yeah, if they're good enough. But then they'll get an injury or whatever, and
Mhm.
the tap turns off,
The
and they've
tap.
had no financial advice or anything like that, and they're winding up broke, unemployable.
Well, yeah.
And it's so unfortunate because, like, if they would have just had somebody there to guide them, to have financial advice, they could have been set up so whenever the game was over and they could no longer participate, they could still be like a functioning member of society and not
Mhm.
be, destitute or,
Yeah,
worse.
there are some sports unions that actually actively try and do that.
Yeah.
Well,
It'd be
Would
great if
it?
all of them were.
Yeah.
I
Think
well, it's
we
having a
passed laws about it, so the clubs have to. They're also capped on what they can pay these young kids too,
yeah.
which I think is probably not a bad idea.
Well, it sounds like having a fucking functioning union helps.
Mhm.
Funny how the topic always seems to, except for the cops, seems to come around. that having a functioning union will actually help workers, whether or not you're a guy doing rugby or if you're an electrician or a plumber.
Mhm. Yeah, the
Right.
conversation reminds me of between Sammy's last topic and this topic. When I bought my townhouse years ago, which is different than my current house, my real estate agent was a former professional baseball player, and my um, mortgage agent was a former professional hockey player.
Oh, oh wow. Talking about how I remember when both times I bought a house, 3 times I bought property. Um, and every single time, the fucking mortgage people were always willing to give me fucking a lot more money than any human being should give me money. And I was not, once again, I've never made a lot of money. My ex-wife never made what would be considered a lot of money. And it's like, you're willing to give us this amount? No, this is insane. This is an insane amount that no one should be giving me personally.
Mm.
Always bought lower. Um,
That's where I'm at now, Andy.
yeah,
This is the first time I've ever,
yeah,
gone into anything even remotely as large, and it's a house.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And when the brokers come back and said, "Look, you sort of pre-approved for this much," it's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
saying to the broker, like, "Are you
yeah.
sure you want to do this?"
Well, you don't, I'm not a financial advisor. I can only tell you what I've done is that you don't want to be house poor. You don't want to have, um, you don't want to be paying so much in your mortgage then when shit does happen, when the wolf does come to the door, then you don't have any cash on hand. I know that I sound like a white middle-aged guy, but yeah, I mean that's what I've always done. Um,
Well, you guys have to you just have foreclosures to worry about.
yeah,
Like, you can own a house by 2/3 and then lose everything.
disappears like during the 2000 during the Great
Like,
Recession. comedian Steve Hill.
It shouldn't be a thing.
Steve Hill, who's a Satanist out in LA, comedian, Satanist, big guy, and he does property. He works in real estate, and during the Great Recession, he was just working with people who just lost, a lot of people who were brown and black skin, because those were the ones targeted by these outrageous loans, and so just it's sad. People just losing their houses hands over the fist.
And that's how, like, a lot of the evangelicals and all those prosperity people is they have intergenerational wealth. They're able to pass down everything that they built. They can just,
Well, and a Satanist,
that's what keeps them in power.
Satanists in terms of like the Satanic Temple. So they aren't theists. There are non-theistic Satanists and theistic Satanists. I've only met one theistic Satanist in real life. Actually, he was a real life devil worshiper, and he was dating a friend of mine, which was awkward. But most Satanists that you see online are non-theistic Satanists. The Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple.
Steve Hill is awesome. Not only is he funny as heck, he's like, he's making a push to do something about things politically as well. He's getting involved. He was running for mayor not that long ago in California.
Steve,
maybe I got that wrong.
No. He was running for state senator in California, and he is aware of the nature of local politics and how important they are to getting things done. And so, he's done everything. He's been a prison guard. He was a Marine, or is a Marine, was an active Marine. And he's a fucking hilarious dude too at the same time. When I grow up, I want to be Steve Hill. That's who I want to be.
Yeah, he's very admirable, for sure.
I respect the Satanic Temple, but I don't go there too much. I know that they renovated their Salem, Massachusetts headquarters. I haven't been up there for a while, since, I don't know, for a couple of years at this point. Maybe I should go up there sometime, check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list of places to adventure to.
Well,
one day.
If you ever come up to Massachusetts, then let me know. I'll, hang out.
Heck yeah.
Crash on the. You can crash in Studio A, where I am right now. This is the official guest room too. So.
Heck yeah.
I bought my first home in 2018. John Hudson. Only paid $28,000. I could see that, John Hudson.
Yeah, at one point in time, it was, all you had to do is have a job, basically, and you could buy a car and pay it off in a reasonable amount of time and be in a house and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a trick.
I was about to say the most horrible thing in the world. It's like, this is me playing evil old white guy, by the way, a character. Once upon a time, the only thing you'd have to be is white. And now you have to be white with money.
Yeah.
You can actually, the good one, you can, and they do have a gift shop too, right in Salem, Massachusetts. That's where all the witchery is. That's where the Salem witch trials happened many years ago. And they have the temple. They have the statue of Baphomet there too. You can get a selfie with the statue. All right. On that happy note, I'm gonna have to close down the show because I have to eat. Then I have to go to work and to get paid to eat. It seems like some kind of vicious cycle. I don't know. But thank you, Dr. Tom Foolery. Thank you, 420 Atheists. Thank you, Tobin Templeman. Shamala to the Hamala. Shamala to the Hamala, everyone. And thanks in the chat too. Take care.